Okay, so I'm doing my third day project on skateboarding. I'm using the book Skateboarding New Levels by Doug Warner. And I decided to do this just because I plan on going to ASU and skateboarding just to get around. But I know a lot of people do it very seriously as a sport, and I figured it wouldn't hurt to work on it a little bit to appreciate the art side of it instead of just using it as transportation. So in here, the tricks are like a little bit hard, if I'm gonna be honest. So I picked the Ollie Impossible, not knowing that it's impossible ahead of time, but that's okay. So before that, the book kind of suggests that you should know some things ahead of time. So I plan to spend a week working on my Ollie. I can already do it. Starting off a little bit, but I figured that I would work on it. Then I also wanted to work on a kickflip for a week, and then the last 2 weeks I was going to work more on what I need for the Ollie Impossible. The book suggests some drills to do, and I was going to start off with that. So for week 1, I decided to focus on my Ollie. So on pages 100 and 101, where it starts off this photo series for the Ollie Impossible, it describes the Ollie Impossible trick as just snapping an Ollie, and then with your tail foot, you're dragging it around, creating that new motion that wasn't done before. So I plan on working on perfecting my Ollie. Hopefully this would help me accomplish the drills that I'm supposed to do later for the actual trick. For my second week, I wanted to work on trying to learn how to do a kickflip. Regardless of what you're trying to learn in skateboarding, I guess, generally this is the first or second trick that you go for, just because it leads into almost anything else. So I felt like this is really important, regardless if I actually was going to be able to accomplish the Ollie Impossible. This would be a good starting point if I ever wanted to pursue skateboarding a little bit more in the future. So on pages 100 and 102, for the same photo series in this book, it shows some pictures, and it says that for the Ollie Impossible, you're going to be tucking your knees up as the board flips beneath you, and as the board comes around, you try to land your front foot on top of the bolts. So that's the same type of motion as a kickflip, and as I mentioned previously, this kind of notes that you should work on that skill first. week I was going to move on from my kickflip. I decided this ahead of time regardless, just because even if I don't get the kickflip entirely, that's okay. It's just meant as like a starting point. So on page 103, which is near the end of this photo series, it says for impossible practice, place the board on the ground, put your tail foot on the end with your toes gripping the tail, and then it says to put your front foot on the ground and then scoop the board around 360 and try to land it with your front foot. So that's kind of complex just to understand verbally, but I did watch a video later that kind of showed this, unrelated to the book, but it was just supplemental material after I read this. So I went ahead and spent 3 days this week practicing just this drill. So I just want to now note, so that when this video is watched and you're all very disappointed that I couldn't do an Ollie Impossible, it is definitely very impossible. I think I have 5 bruises on my legs at this point. I'm filming all the verbal parts afterward, and I just finished trying the Ollie Impossible, and I can let you know that. When I did watch some YouTube videos after I went through this book, this photo series, because it does help to see it in motion, the guy, said, before you try the Ollie Impossible, you should know, and then proceeded to list 11 different tricks, 2 of which I can do. One of them, the kickflip, very poorly. So, the Ollie Impossible, trying to learn it, was an experience, but it wasn't too disappointing when I couldn't do it. So for my 4th week, I wanted to put together everything I learned from the Ollie practice and the kickflip practice, along with the first drill that I noted was on the last page of the photo series for the Ollie Impossible from my book. So you can further that drill by, I've seen in a couple videos, is you do what I showed you in the video, except you try and place your front foot on over the bolts. So just a continuation, kind of like trying to get you a little bit closer to the board, because eventually you want to be able to do the trick while you're moving. And so obviously, you want the board as close to right underneath you as possible. attach photos of my research chart so you can see it a lot better than I can show in this video. However, I started off being able to do an ollie very poorly, but I could do it. So after that, I decided that I wanted to be able to do an ollie pretty solidly. I wanted to get close to a kickflip at least, which overall I ended up, I didn't get that much air necessarily, but I mean, the board flipped around, so like I'd say that's a pretty close to success. And then I just wanted to get started on an ollie impossible. I knew right off the bat it was going to be like very difficult, but I learned over the course of the month that it wasn't gonna happen, you know, but that's okay. So for my first week, I just worked on standing ollies, and then for the last day, I really did focus on like the leg movement, going up higher. So overall, you just need to focus on the height of your tail foot, I would say. So for the second week, I worked on my kickflip, and for the third day I noted that I would land it at all costs, which based on the cut on my leg, I did do that. I will let you know. So then for my third week, I started the first ollie impossible drill, and that was somewhat successful. The drill is very general and pretty easy to do, so it gives you an idea of the ollie impossible, but it's accurate of representation. And then for the fourth week, I worked on furthering that drill with the second one that I talked about. And then I did try and land it at least once, but it didn't work out. It's okay. So for my outcome week, the 4 questions at the end, I wanted to say for number 1, I would say that I partially achieved my desired outcome. I probably wish I could have actually been better at the kickflip. However, only spending 4 or 5 days on it just really wasn't enough. I mean, now after this project, I'm definitely going to continue to work on it, but I wish I had more time for that. Second, I would say that I learned things that are more like arts or sports you can't rush. And I mean, sometimes, you know, I'm very like science oriented and just want to like get the job done. It doesn't work like that. And so I would say that I didn't get a ton of practice, honestly, because it's really hot outside, and I don't like filming at night. It's just not very good lighting, doesn't look very good, so it was hard because it was hot out. I didn't have a lot of time. And I learned that skateboarding's hard, but honestly now I find it very interesting, so I'll probably continue.